Welcome to the Revolt Gaming Podcast. That's right, we changed our name.
Oh yeah.
Not only do we want to change our name just to have a better brand, but also we changed our name because turns out there's lots of still loadings. So
Yeah.
my friends and I in middle school, not as original as I was hoping, but you know it's been like 15 years. So
Yeah. No
It
such
is
thing
what
as an original thought anymore. That's fine.
welcome to Revolt Gaming Podcast, where we talk about the decline of everything, but mostly video games. My name is Aiden.
And I'm Matt.
And today we've got a wide range of topics, but I think it all kind of boils down to graphics. Are graphics really that fucking big of a deal? If you've listened so far, you know that I've said many different times, like, no, dial them back, I don't fucking care. But I think just saying that, it's easy to say yes or no. So we're going to do a little bit of deep dive on that and talk about that. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get started? I have a few things, so I figure I'll give you a chance first.
I don't think so.
No?
I'm pretty much in the same spot that I've been in for a while, so
Okay. Well, I have bad news. Lots of bad news, mostly.
excellent. Feed me.
So the first thing is, I already told you this, but the viewers need to know. The next Witcher game, it's a card game so far.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the super secret Witcher project they were talking about a few months ago. I hope it's not. But they did just release like a Gwent trading card game, basically. It's like you can download it. I haven't played it yet. It might not suck. I don't know. If it's anything like the mainstream like Gwent card game, I have no interest because that's when things became less fun. It just became like a Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like basically, you just build a deck, lets you flow through your deck as much as possible and do the thing, and you win. That's how you play the game. I prefer the game in the game. You know, that's strategy based. So I'm sorry about that. I know we joked about it, but like I actually laughed when it was announced because I was like, no fucking way.
No, I updated my will. We're good.
Speaking of bad news, more and more, there's this company called Polium,
Okay.
and apparently, well, first things first, their logo they stole from the GameCube. Like they literally took the GameCube logo and just flipped it upside down, basically, and they're like, look, it's our logo.
Oh.
And there were several tweets where people called them out for this, and they were like, no, we put more effort into it than that. And then one of them, I can't remember how they worded it, but like they basically admitted they stole it from GameCube, but we're like, no, we modified it though.
Oh,
And I was
so
like, great. I don't remember the exact tweet, but like I remember that's basically what it said. Polium's creating a machine that's basically all about NFTs. Those lovely things are going around the world now. Basically, it's kind of functions similar to the Steam store in concept, where like you basically just have a catalog of games that you buy that adds to your home version of it, similar to Steam. But the whole thing with this is that like I believe there's an active subscription you have to keep it up. As well as they literally on their controller has a wallet button where it's like, oh, you can buy DLC with this.
Oh, no
You can
way.
buy this if you want. You can buy that if you want. Like they literally have a fast action to your wallet to just try and sell as much microtransactions as possible.
that makes me think. Did you ever see the memes that went around a few years ago? It said the new Microsoft controller, and it literally just had a spot to insert your card in the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like that. And
Wow.
the shady thing about that is just the concept of it. But then they will not tell anyone what the specs of this like console they're making is, basically. Like their special Polium console. They won't tell anyone the specs about it, but
What?
pre-orders are absolutely opened.
What? So, okay, so you don't know the product you're getting?
Yeah.
So it could underperform, like, say, a Switch, and people are still paying. Like, are people actually buying this?
I don't know. I don't know how much people are taking it seriously. I know Polium's not happy with the feedback they're getting so far. But it just... We have to put a stop to this.
Yeah.
The community as a whole cannot allow this to happen. Because this is going to be just like DLC was. We didn't think much of it, and then it becomes a thing, and everyone's doing it. We have to put a stop to this. We cannot allow this to be a thing.
So is this a dangerous precedent alert?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would say honestly, you should start doing that on DLC even. Like, something triggered in my brain the other day that like really annoyed me was I saw something like PlayStation has sales all the time, and I was looking through the sales and I was like, there's so many things that say like such and such game complete edition, and like that phrasing annoys me because I'm like, why wasn't it complete to fucking begin with? I just hate that phrasing.
Complete edition. Yeah, you mean with all the shit that I should have got when I paid $60 goddamn dollars for it?
Yeah. So we have to put a stop to this. Like, don't support things like this. Don't support NFTs. Don't support a whole machine dedicated to selling you DLC, basically. And honestly, you should. It'll really put a wrinkle in the gaming industry, but like, stop buying games if they're not finished. Like, wait a few months. Make it where they release a game that they don't make as much money as they want to, and they start to realize, like, maybe we should fucking complete the game. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe do the job.
Yeah.
The job that I'm paid for. Like, the problem is, like, that there is a part of the gaming community that is to blame for this.
Yeah.
And that's the people that push deadlines. So if I had a caveat to add to that, it would be have patience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think there's ever been a day one experience for me that has been monumental enough to not warrant, like, well, I could have waited a week for this when the bugs were fixed, or I could have waited a month for this when the price drops. Like, I don't understand the me first thing about it. So
Square Enix has a game coming out this year called Forspoken, and it looks very shiny is all I can say about it. I don't know if it looks cool or not yet. There's a lot of particle effects, but that game's been delayed like 2 or 3 times because it's just not ready. And people are fucking throwing a bitch fit about it and like calling Square Enix like a bunch of cowards and being like, oh, they're just doing it to try and boost their numbers or like whatever. And it's like, no, they're just not releasing a shitty product.
Yeah, they stand by it no matter how good, no matter how bad. Square Enix is a great company.
Yeah, it's one of the only companies that has integrity left.
Integrity.
There are some parts of it that I don't know if I would say like it. I agree with it because there's small parts of the company like I talked about this on Twitter. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast. There is a Final Fantasy game that came out a while ago. It's not great, honestly. It's really not great.
Okay.
The dialogue is cringy as hell, and like it's basically a retelling of Final Fantasy 1.
You did talk about this a little bit, I think.
Yeah, so they managed to take the concept of Final Fantasy 1, which is already like a vague story, like for being honest, like it's a vague premise. And they managed to make it even more vague in this game, to where it's just like, if I didn't play Final Fantasy 1 when I was younger, I don't know if I'd know what the fuck was happening. But I'm able to fill in the gaps, so I'm like, okay, but I know why they're doing this. But yeah, I mean, kind of like pushing that project to like another company and like as a little side project but still releasing the Square Enix logo, like, yeah, maybe I don't agree with that. I wish more care would have been put into it. There's something that a lot of people are talking about with the Kingdom Hearts games were released on Switch recently, and people are bitching about the fact that they are cloud ports, which cloud ports suck. They do. But I think another thing you have to look at with that is that like a Switch is not a powerful console. Like Nintendo's generally about 2 or 3 generations behind everyone else. They're basically pushing the PS3 at this point. Like that's what their Switch is a PS3, without the hardware of a PS3. And so I really think that with the updated Kingdom Hearts graphics that they did with like the versions that are out now, like I think a cloud port's probably the best way to do that, because at least that way you don't have to worry about the Switch running it fully on its specs. You have like kind of like a, well, yeah, you have to download it from the internet, or like kind of stream it basically, but you're not fully relying on the Switch to run it by itself, basically.
Well, it's not I mean, size is relative with technology, especially nowadays, but there's not a lot of hardware to a Switch. Yeah. It's basically a big ass smartphone. Like, everything is truly on board and not dedicated. So I mean, that's, you got to take the good with the bad though. Like the portability factor, that's what people wanted. Yeah,
with a cloud port, you can't really. I get it. You're losing the portability option because you have to have a Wi-Fi connection to play it. Which that's. I'm on people's side with that, but at the same time, like, I don't think you should point all the blame at Square Enix. You gotta point it towards Nintendo too, like, make a better console, maybe.
Yeah, they won't. Like, the one time they tried, that they were way, way ahead of the game. I
feel like GameCube was on par with the PS2.
I would agree with that. The Wii, with its motion control, I believe I talked about this in, like, episode 1 or 2.
Possibly.
Wii's motion control, when it came from Japan in its inception, was insanely good. Like, totally like perfect almost. But the investors and Nintendo said that this won't sell. This is too controlled, so they had to dumb down the motion control to what we have now. But the original setup was way cleaner, like motion for motion control, which is awesome. But I think since then they've got gun shy about like spearheading stuff, so they've gone to, how can I put this, like I was saying before with portability for the Switch. It was kind of a marriage between their console and their handhelds, which the handhelds have always been where the money is for Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You have to take the bad with the good. Like, that is the price you pay. If you want a portable system, which, hey, if that's your thing, I get that. That's the price you pay. Like, you're actively asking for a lesser quality experience because you can port it around, basically.
Yeah, totally, which, I mean, is a good. I think overall it's a win.
Yeah, I think that if that's your thing, it works. And, I mean, I tend to only buy games on the Switch that, like, fall into a specific category, I guess. There's only like the mainstream like RPGs, like Xenoblade Chronicles is a big one, like that's a series that's mainstream right now that I actually do play. But yeah, mostly I only buy games on the Switch that like already kind of have like that older style to them anyways, because it's like it works on the Switch, might as well.
It's like the equivalent of the things I load to my laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only run certain games on my laptop because I save like the deluxe holy shit stuff for my PC.
Do you want me to continue with the really bad news, or like let's ease back into it? So.
No, feed me.
Okay. What's scarier than a Polium NFT microtransaction machine? It is, trust me. In Korea currently, this has nothing to do with video games, by the way, but I think that this has like a very strong precedence with this.
Oh, okay.
So Korea is releasing a new BMW. And you know how like you can do like satellite radio and stuff?
Yeah, I'm already on board with this. Yeah.
You know I'm gonna say, yeah, the DLC for your car basically.
Yep.
If you don't pay for it, you don't get heated seats, you don't get
heated steering wheel.
Like this has to stop as well.
Can I add some fuel to this fire?
Yeah, go for it.
This has been tried once before in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the reason why it's being done in Korea is because Europe said no way. They tried this a few years ago, limiting the same features. Running joke is like, it seems like they already limit turn signal functions. Shot at BMW drivers. But yeah, they tried this in Europe, and then the UK, specifically Parliament, viewed it as like unlawful. You can't do that. You can't limit features that people paid money for. And they shut them down. So yeah, they're taking a second shot at it in an Asian market, which is dicey.
The thing is if this, don't think for a second that if it's for whatever reason successful in Korea, that America's not going to jump on board with it. There's no way in hell they're not going to jump on board with it. It's like, sure, let's do it. I think this holds precedence. Even we talk about the decline of everything, not just gaming, but mostly gaming. This is, I mean, holy DLC culture, man. Like this is real life microtransactions at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look what's happened to TV, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's port it back 10 years. Like, I canceled my cable subscription because I didn't want to pay for shit I wasn't using. So I got, Netflix and stuff like that. Now there's everybody and their brother has a streaming platform that you have to pay for all this content. We've come full circle back to TV. It's basically a cable package. I bet, this is my prediction, I bet in the next 10 years there's going to be an option to bundle all of this together, and we're going to have cable again.
It'll probably be done through Roku as well, because Roku's whole thing basically is that where you have like all your apps in one place.
Oh yeah, Roku took a hit when smart TVs came out though.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this shit's already on board, but I guarantee they're making the chipsets. I'll be back with that information to see if that's actually true or not, but I bet you that was their original collaboration. Yeah, dude, subscription based, like, everything.
Looks like you didn't buy brakes. You don't get the brakes, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, you only get the left turn signal, sorry. Would you like to buy the right one?
Yeah, no kidding. Do you want to buy the BMW Complete Edition? Damn it.
So those are the two cringiest things on my list of things to talk about. Those are the two things I was like, no fucking way.
I can tell you about something I read today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, apparently GameStop is launching their own NFT market.
I'm not surprised. GameStop's been floundering for a long time, unfortunately.
Well, they got that huge influx a couple years ago. That huge cash flow, but yeah, now they're
well, I mean, as things transition towards a more digital market, which I will always value having the physical copy of a game. Like, I prefer that. I mean, you can't loan your friend, like, a data, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and part of the joy for me is, like, you own a game and be like, hey, I really enjoyed this, you try it, and you just let your friend borrow it. But that's exactly what they're trying to limit with this digital market is, like, I don't like that. I think that everyone has to buy the game.
Yeah. There's one of the irritating things I'm noticing on Steam is their window for like return policy is very narrow, and I've noticed that the hour tracking isn't accurate. I missed the window on the return for a $40 game by like 0.1 hours. It was just outside the return window, and it's absolutely not. So like, there's no demo or trial version of anything. Like, you pony up the cash and you hope it's good, or you watch a bunch of YouTube videos on the game to find out if it's worth playing, and that kills immersion for me. I like to go into stuff blind, you know?
That is one thing I think Nintendo does well is there's a lot of demos for their games. You can demo almost anything on the Switch, which is really nice because there's a few things I definitely wouldn't have bought, but the other things were like through demoing it, I was like, oh yeah, I totally play this. This is cool, and then I bought it. So I think that's a really valuable thing. So that's one positive, I guess, for like a digital market is like that's going to be easier to demo games.
Sure.
But yeah, those are the two cringiest things. Here's another cringy one, but just kind of like a, are you fucking kidding me thing. You remember that scandal Blizzard went through where they're like sexually harassing their employees and like, you know, targeting women specifically and doing all kinds of crazy shit. I was completely wrong about that. This is really hard for me to admit, but I was wrong about that. Because it's been, you know, announced that Blizzard cleared itself of any wrongdoing. The board of directors says, no, nothing happened.
Oh.
So,
great.
Hey, you know what? I guess I was wrong, right?
Great hush money, yeah.
Yeah, Activision, specifically the Activision of Activision Blizzard, the board of directors, like, we launched a thorough investigation, and nope, nothing ever happened.
I wonder how much that cost them.
$10 million that they won back with Guite-Immortal, and then some.
Yeah, that needs to die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing ads for it now. It's coming across my feed again. So,
I mean, this is an opinion. Like, it gets worse because Activision is designing data basically to how sellable their things are based on, you know, someone's race, gender, sexuality, disability level. They're turning that stuff into data to be like, how well will this sell to the generation that we're trying to sell it to? Like, they're literally turning that into a way to make money.
Of course.
Man, I just...
Yep.
This doesn't scare me as much as the other things I was talking about, but, like, this is like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah. I mean, that's the price you pay for the loss of net neutrality. You're literally an asset to be collected on, which is...
Well, I don't know the details, obviously, because I don't work there, but what's been reported about this is that the original design for this program was not meant to do this, but Activision is using it for this. It was originally just to basically get feedback of, like, what people are into, essentially. Like, does this character resonate, yes or no? Like, do you actually like this character or not? It was meant to do that, but now it's being like, oh, we can... What if we make them this, this, and this? They'll sell better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that just seems evil in Inception anyway. Like,
yeah,
that's the problem with, like, I would say, like, modern art. Like, it's not a matter of making something because you like making something. You're making something to make a buck on it. And then, unfortunately, like, money talks and bullshit takes the bus. So,
yeah. Here's something that might surprise people, though. So I'm actually defending Ubisoft in this regard.
Good.
There was this whole thing with Ubisoft where basically they put an Assassin's Creed game on for 75% off, and people were buying it because like they wanted it. And then the reason why they were making it that cheap is because they were removing it from the store. And then what happened was like they sold it and then they took it off of the store, and then people who bought the game couldn't play it anymore.
Oh.
And of course the internet was an outrage, as I would have been as well. But it's been addressed, and they're like, no, that definitely wasn't the intention. I didn't do it on purpose. Like, we'll definitely fix it. Don't worry. I actually believe them. I really do. Because I think that if you think about it, Ubisoft has such a horrible track record right now. Like, in the public eye, people are just waiting for them to fuck up. Like, I think I said in the last episode, I was like, they're one scandal away from being like, fuck Ubisoft. I don't think they would do it on purpose. Like, this is blatant thievery. There's no way they would do something like this. I actually believe them in this regard. So, for what that's worth, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't... They personally haven't done me wrong. The products of theirs I've consumed I've really liked. But I don't know everything that they make. So, it might just be like my narrow perspective on their products that I really enjoy.
They don't... Their reputation is one that doesn't sell complete games. Like, they're the huge on DLC. It's like, they will release a game that just is not... blatantly not finished in order to sell DLC later for it. And their games are really buggy, and they don't really fix them unless it is currently making them money. If it's not making them money, they just like, tough, you fucking have a buggy game, deal with it.
That's not cool.
Which sucks to the people who do actually like that game. They're like, no, I like the game, but like, this is, I can't fucking play it like this.
That really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great reputation, but...
Not something I'd call a legacy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why they're in the public eye. Like, so I think doing something like this, like blatant thievery, they have to be aware that they're not already in a good light. I don't think they would do this unless they're trying to be like Blizzard. But I don't know.
Oh yeah, Blizzard's naughty.
Yeah. That's all the bad news I have. Another good thing, or a good thing I want to talk about before getting into the episode.
Okay.
And this is probably only a good thing to me. Final Fantasy 16, another announcement on it is like, it will not be open world, and I'm just so happy about that.
Dope.
Like, I really, really am. And again, like, you know, Naoki Yoshida, or Yoshi P as we call him in FF14, like, his whole thing behind that was when the announcement went off, he was talking about it. He was just like, yeah, we just want to make sure the game's good. Like, we have a story we want to tell, and like, we want to make sure the story's told, and we don't want to have to water it down for making a huge world. And I was like, yeah, of fucking course you don't.
Yeah,
that's the trailer looks amazing. Like, I'm interested in the story just by the trailer. Like, it looks awesome. I'm totally down to play it. And they were even talking about kind of like a similar thing that happened to Final Fantasy 15, which I really liked, but that game was completely crippled by the fact it was open world. That's what made that game not as good as it could have been, and that's why the director walked, where he's like, I'm not working on this anymore.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah.
Like, if it's not matching your vision that you had in your head, why would you stick around? I wouldn't.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets his game finally, because Final Fantasy 15's told, you know, that game was originally launched as Final Fantasy 13 Versus. It was going to be a big PS3 title.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a whole origin for that game, and like, I followed it for years because like I was really into it. I was like, that story looks fucking amazing. Like, I want to play this. So yeah, hopefully he's getting his Final Fantasy 15 game. There's like this whole lore within Kingdom Hearts 3 now that kind of connects like another world he was working on. So cool. He's like, Kingdom Hearts 4. The speculation is will basically be the game he wanted to make, but with Kingdom Hearts characters in it.
Neat.
So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that's cool. But Final Fantasy 16 kind of leads me into something that, like, we talked about this last episode, is like finding your own blue chicken.
Oh yes, totally.
And this kind of leads into that because for the first time I'm questioning Final Fantasy 14 a little bit, because there's this whole thing with the next patch that people are really excited about, and I'm skeptical about it.
Okay.
And they're basically releasing like this weird like farming-esque like island sanctuary thing where you get your own island where you can like plant stuff and all kinds of stuff.
Like a garrison?
Kind of. And I realize this is because people have been asking for this, because housing is a really big thing. Like, you can own your own house in Final Fantasy 14, and there's a huge community around that who just want to have their own house. And, you know, good on them. So I think this is an answer to that, because people are like, people want a house so badly it's hard to get a house, because, like,
so it's like real life.
Yeah, pretty much. You have people who literally camp out like 24 hours a day in the game trying to put in their bids for a plot so they can buy a house. So I think this is kind of an answer to the people's frustrations with that. I don't know, man. I'm skeptical about it because, you know, Final Fantasy has chickens of every color, but this is just a new color, and it's just, why do we need this exactly? Who is this for? I trust Yoshi P, but I don't know. I don't trust the community, and that's the thing. The community whines too much, and I think this is him trying to make the community happy. There's also these challenge dungeons that like they go outside like what a dungeon is or what a raid is. Like they're like literally they are just hard. That is what they are. They are just hard.
Would you say artificially hard?
Yes.
Damn.
That is what they are. That's the thing that really hardcore players are looking for too. So it just sounds like a lot of answers to the community that I just don't agree with. Like, community can suck it as far as I'm concerned. Like,
so it sounds like Warlords of Draenor, kind of?
A little bit, yeah. I would say that's probably the exact, because that's everything that happened in WoD. Yeah, garrisons and those fucking challenge dungeons. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just worried about that. I love the community, but like, they just whine too much, man. And like, the thing is, like, right now they're complaining there's no content, and it's like, there's a bit of a drought, sure. But he's also like, Yoshi P's been on record to say like, hey, Lan, like, there's nothing to do in our game right now. Like, don't subscribe to it. Go play something else. Like,
yeah,
totally cool with that. Like,
find a different blue chicken.
Yeah, exactly. Come back when there's new content. When you want to experience that content. But if you're not having fun with it right now, don't subscribe to it. Totally fine with that.
That's bold. That's
a huge move, and I think that's what it is. Like, you've talked about this even like with MMOs. Typically, it feels like a second life, and I think there's people that. What's interesting about Final Fantasy XIV is it's not a second life. You can play it as casually or hardcore as you want to, and I think the people who do play it hardcore 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, play other games. That's what I'm telling you to do. Go play other games. Final Fantasy XIV is not the only game I play. No. I play other things on the side all the time.
Would you say it's your main squeeze?
It is my main squeeze, yes. I do love the game. I play with my fiance, so that's something we do together. And I love the game in general. And like, I'm not at the point where I feel like there's nothing I can do. There's lots of stuff I could do. It just depends if I want to.
Yeah, nothing you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the game. Once again, it's like there's as little or as much as you want in the game. There's some things I want to do that I just don't have the time to yet because they're kind of big commitments, because it literally is like, it's like training basically. It's like a training montage, and it's like doing the same thing over and over again to like perfect it. And like, I'm just not ready to do that yet, but it's something I do want to try doing because it's a very cool concept. It's like what WoW tried to do with Torghast, but like in a fun way, basically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so I do want to get into that because there's a title that you get from soloing both of these versions of this, and they're kind of like, people who have like the shiny weapons from the ultimate raids. Like when you see that title, you're like, oh shit, that brings the badass.
Oh, nice.
So that's something I'm doing. I'm also doing Savage content right now, like the current tier of Savage content. So I do that like once a week. So like, but yeah, I mean, it's not the only game I play.
Cool.
And that's the beauty of the game, is that it doesn't have to be the only thing you play. It can totally be, a side piece if you want to be. Yeah,
no, my MMO of choice is very jealous. So we're seeing other people for a minute. That's okay, I think. We're in an abusive relationship, so I think we're gonna see other. I'm playing Ace Combat 7 right now, so.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
man. Totally different. Like, not fantasy killing anymore. I'm flying planes and shit.
I beat the game. I had a goal of beating before Xenoblade Chronicles 3 came out, because I was like, I want to beat this game before that game comes out, because I'm going to play that when it comes out. And I beat that like last week, so I'm just like, what do I do for like the next week? So I've just been like bouncing back and forth between stuff. Here's something for you guys, and for you as well, Matt. I'm actually playing Grandia right now, the first one.
First one? Nice.
Yeah, just because I want to play them in order. But I picked that, like, I picked it up a long time ago, the duo pack of Grandia 1 and 2. But I committed to it finally. You talked about it in our Favorite Games podcast.
I'm currently playing Grandia too as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I was like, oh, you know what, Matt likes this series. I'm going to give it a whirl,
Are you having fun?
Yes, Grandia, it's fun, yeah.
What do you think about the combat? It's interesting, right?
It is interesting. It does have something I don't love in it, but I'm getting over it, so it's fine. I don't know about Grandia 2, but at least with Grandia 1, like, you have to level up the weapons you use.
I believe that's gone into.
Yeah, it's how you level up or you get certain techniques basically, like your sword, your axe, your mace, whatever is like a certain level, and then you learn technique based on that. I don't love that because I like to hard focus on things. I really like just this character uses this character uses that, like, you know, maybe like a more traditional RPG basically.
Grounded 2 feels way more like that.
Yeah.
You refresh my memory. Are SPs a thing? Skill points that you get after battle?
Basically, skill points is what I was talking about. Basically, it's how you level up your like you level up your magic this way as well. You level up your weapons this way as well.
Yeah, you have to basically something you'll run into. The game has a bit of a grind aspect to it, not on purpose. I do want to do, after I complete this playthrough of Groundia 2, I'm going to go back and do it. And something we talked about with Legend of Dragoon is that game levels, it is balanced perfectly and paced perfectly. I want to see if Groundia fits the same suit.
Oh yeah.
Because I love the combat in that game. If you added additions to it, it might give Dragoon a run for its money. Like, I love the combat. I don't even know what you call that. Like, there's got to be a name for it. Like,
I mean, typically it's, if you're not just hitting like an attack button, it's like an action RPG. But like, that's what Legend of Dragoon is. It's kind of a hybrid of an action RPG. It's turn based, but it's also like has action elements.
Totally. I like the ability of, at least in 2, of, and again, I'm not sure how much of the stuff is present in 1, but you have your standard attacks, you have your criticals, which stop other attacks, and then your techniques and stuff. You spend SP to upgrade your techniques.
So you don't spend SP in 1, you just earn it through doing the thing.
Oh no, in 2 you have 3 different currencies.
Okay, interesting.
You accumulate SP, you accumulate I think it's SP, I'm not sure, I have to look at the screen again. Experience, obviously, and then a third one,
gold.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, money and
currency,
actual currency, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you spend those on certain, like, the initial attack itself, and then you can reinvest SP again to upgrade it, to make it to make your bar feel faster, so your character attacks faster with that ability. That's all it does, upgrading.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't make it stronger, it just makes it so
it happens faster.
Yeah, because, like, I'm pretty sure in 1 they still have the portrait bar, where like you pick your attack at 75%, and then, or 75% away through that character's turn, and then when it finishes out, that's when it happens.
Yeah,
it just makes that last 25% go faster. That's the only point of adding stars to things.
That's kind of what the movement stat does in 1. Is it's one of the stats you can control with,
you
like,
can do it
what
that
you
way
equip.
too.
Yeah.
But you're like, because the special attacks you get for the main character in 2, I'm trying to remain spoiler free here.
Yeah.
They're very expensive, but he's the main, so of course they hit hella hard, but they're really slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you upgrade them that way in 2. So I think you'll appreciate that experience a little better. But
yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna get to it. I don't even know if we'll finish Grandia 1. If it's like a typical like 40-hour JRPG with like maybe 100 hours for completionist status, like, I might finish it before I get to the 30th, or no, it's 29th, so it's in like 5 days. But yeah, that's what I've been doing so far. And that game's old, and I'm still having fun with it.
It's a lot of fun.
It's really that beautiful era of like anime JRPGs that like came over to the West, and like I can't like that. That's what Lunar was talking about in that favorite RPGs episode, like, or games episode. Like, that's that beautiful era of like anime JRPGs that I kind of wish had continued.
I really wish you'd have played 2 first. I legitimately do, because they're built like Final Fantasy is.
Yeah.
They're just different. Like, the cast of characters is totally different every time, and the storyline is different every time.
I mean, it's something I'll probably play on the side still. It's definitely my other side piece.
Oh, definitely.
I pretty much start playing that after I do whatever I want to do in Final Fantasy for the day, and I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Time to blow through some levels of Groundia, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very rewarding game. I don't know, can't recommend it enough, dude. It's a great game.
Yeah, but back on the subject of Final Fantasy 14. Oh no, that was a beautiful tangent. Back on the subject of Final Fantasy 14 and kind of the main topic of the episode. Something I'm again annoyed with the community about is I believe it's been decided that Final Fantasy 14 is going to get a graphics overhaul, but I don't feel like it's needed.
No, that game's fun to look at.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see some textures where it's like, yeah, that's grainy, or like, yes, that's kind of like lesser quality than like the rest of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Fully admitting that. I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh no, it's not present. But those are things that players will nitpick and be like, oh, this game's ugly. This game is terrible looking. Like, do you see these fucking flowers? Are you kidding me? And it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up, man.
Wow. No, I believe in graphic importance, but not to the nitpicky level. Definitely not.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole community of Final Fantasy 14 on PC who mod it, and like they get in trouble for it. And like, here's a hot take for you: it's against TOS. If you mod and you get caught, fuck you, you deserve it. Hot take.
No, absolutely, dude, 100%. Like, if you knowingly break some rules, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, there's this whole debacle with like a really big Final Fantasy streamer got caught raiding with mods installed, and he got banned on the spot.
Yeah, as it should.
They were like, "This is an outrage. Why'd you do that to me of all people?" Like, and it's just like, dude, you broke the rules. Fuck you, man. Like,
you're a mere mortal like the rest of us, dude. You're not. You don't have plot armor. Sorry.
Yeah, and so it's just like, yeah. Final Fantasy 14, man, I cannot talk about that game enough. I will gladly have a conversation about that alone because it's such a good game. And to ignore the quality of it because the flowers don't look good or the trees aren't high enough def or like this one piece of armor doesn't look as good as you want it to. Is that the level we're at in this day and age? Like, that's what matters, the surface level of graphics. That's what it is.
I can try to give you an alternate perspective.
Sure.
As much as we don't like to admit it, quality comes out pretty often now. It's pretty often that I can put a game in and at least enjoy it for what it is. So I think when you're getting down to like nitpicky stuff like that, like, oh, these graphics aren't what I want them to be and stuff like that, that's just because that's all there is to complain about. Like, people are always going to complain about something. Like, some people are just contrarian and built that way. They're just gonna bitch about that. But, I mean, if all they're bitching about is the flowers, then fuck them, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with that perspective. I think it's a really good way to look at it. I just think there's too big of a community that doesn't look at it that way. I really do think there's people that's not what they're doing. They're literally being like, this game's ugly, so it's not good. And like,
yeah, no, fuck those people.
There's definitely that big side of it, and those people have been coming out of the woodwork left and right, man. With the announcement of the Resident Evil 4 remake, as well as the Last of Us Part 1 remake.
Yep.
Those people are arguing it out on Twitter all over the place. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, man, like, as always, if you like something, great, like it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Totally. But
you really become an asshole when you start telling somebody who's like, I don't see the appeal, it's just better graphics. When you tell them they're an asshole for thinking that, you're crossing the line, man.
Have you got that feedback?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Something I did on Twitter that was really funny is I was like, all right, so tell me why you're excited about it, but you can't talk about the graphics. And the responses were basically nothing. Yeah. They started going down to like, well, the FPS will be higher. I'm like, that's still graphics, man. Like, why are you excited about it? It's like, oh, well, it's going to have combat from the second game. Like, it's the exact same combat. It's just slightly better polished. It's like, why are you excited about it? Totally. And it usually ends up being like, it's just going to look good. I'm like, thank you for admitting it. Like, that's all it comes down to. Like,
totally. And if that's what you're stoked about, cool. If that is your blue chicken, dope.
Exactly, man. Like, that's fine, but don't try and preach it like it's the game of the year, which, by the way, people are crusading for it to get game of the year next year. Again, yeah. Like, people are adamantly crusading for it to be the next year's game of the year because, like, it's going to be so beautiful looking.
Hold on. Are you mean to tell me that the same janitor that works at Bethesda, who keeps releasing Skyrim every year, also works at Naughty Dog? Are you telling me they're the same guy?
It might be. There's this tweet from Naughty Dog where they were talking about, like, someone blatantly called them out and was like, this is just a cash grab. You're just trying to make money. This is all 100%. This is. And they're like, it's not a cash grab. This is one of the most intricate games we've ever made. It's so intricate that they're not going to have the multiplayer from the first game. It's so intricate that It's actually been leaked. Some brave person like leaked Naughty Dog's information because everybody was so stoked about it and speculating like, oh, it's gonna have this, it's gonna have this, it's gonna have this. It has none of that. It's just the first game with prettier graphics and minus the multiplayer mode. That's what this game is.
So it's less than the first game.
Yes, and those images have been leaked around, and the people who are really stoked about it are like getting pissed because they're like, "Fuck you! It's still gonna be good."
Oh, of course.
Good for them, man. Like honestly, I think they're totally justified. People, if you were excited for the game because you were speculating like it's gonna have all these multiple tiers that the first version of the game didn't have, I'd even be on your side with that. I'd be like, well, okay, if it's the first game but there's more stuff added to it, stuff they couldn't do before,
great.
Sure, I guess that's okay. But yeah, this is exactly what I thought it was. There's why I haven't cared since it was announced.
So yeah, they're 100% right with their tweet though. It's not a cash grab. It's not a cash grab if the cash is guaranteed. This is an influx.
Yeah.
That is purely an influx of money.
Well, you know, I have an interesting thing that I want to talk about at the end of this. Not the episode, but like this part of it, because I've drawn a parallel between Capcom and Naughty Dog that I don't think people are realizing.
Okay.
Because you can kind of move on to like, I won't do that yet, but another thing too about this whole Last of Us thing, like I really liked the first game. I'm one of those annoying people that'll crusade about it and be like, no, the first game was great. Definitely you should play it. First game, wonderful. I'm even one of those rare people that'll be like, no, the first half of the second game was very good. The other half, not so much though. As opposed to those people that are like, no, the whole game was terrible. It's like, that's not true. Half of the game was good. But why? So I'm saying this as a fan. I'm not saying this as a casual person or a casual observer. I'm saying this as a fan. I do not give a fuck about this. Especially when the intricacy of The Last of Us's story, The Last of Us's, I don't know how to say it. The Last of Us story is the characters. There's so many nuances to the way like they say things, or the way they don't say things, or the way they shy away from certain topics, or the way they half answer certain things. That's what makes the first game so good. It did not break the mold when it came to survival horror shooters.
No.
It didn't break the mold at all. That game was good because of the story, and the actors who did that game, phenomenal job. They did very good. So you have all that stuff that people are curious about. You could have made a prequel game. You could have been like, hey, this is what happened before Joel met Ellie, before Ellie met Joel. And since they want to do that whole dual player thing like they did in the second game, you could still do that. You could play as both characters up to the point where they meet each other. There's your game right there.
Yeah, fill in the gaps a little bit.
Like the stuff people actually fucking care about. You could have just done that. I don't understand why you just remake the first game. And the thing is, I'd be more on their side as well if they made a prequel like that with these graphics. And then it'd be like, okay, now we're going to remake the first game. Might as well finish the collection. I'd be way more on board with that because that's like just bringing everything up to a certain standard.
Yeah,
you gotta imagine that would happen like 10 years from now. Like that's when that would happen. So at that point, sure, why not? I mean, I still probably be as angry about it as I am now, but not as much, you know, like not on that level of like, are you fucking serious?
It makes sense though.
Yeah, it would make sense, I think. And that's kind of why I give the Resident Evil 4 remake a little bit more slack. It's been long enough. People like that game enough. Fine. You know, I don't agree with it, but fine. It's less of a blatant cash grab, I think.
I don't fully agree with that. It got its HD remaster last console.
Well, so here's why I don't think it's as much of a blatant cash grab. I guess what I am going to say, well, yes, it's a cash grab. But I don't think it's as much of just like purely a, oh, we need to make money now kind of thing. So whatever varying levels of success Resident Evil Village saw and Last of Us Part 2 saw, those games were very popular in like specific groups, I would say. It was like there were people who really liked Resident Evil Village. Then there were people that were like, well, I like the Resident Evil 4 mechanics and I like the big titty goth vampire lady. Those are the two things I like about this game. Everything else is bad. So that game was not as successful as Capcom was probably hoping. Same with The Last of Us Part 2. They very clearly put work into that game. That game being bad is not a result of it being poorly done. It's just poor decisions were made with that game. But they very clearly put effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that game is only popular with like certain crowds of people. It's like there's only so many people that'll crusade for it and be like, no, it was amazing. It was the best game ever, start to finish. That's very far and few between who's going to say that.
Okay.
So I feel like what Capcom and Capcom and Naughty Dog are doing is the exact same thing. They're licking their wounds. They're doing something they know will sell because what they put their heart into did not work so well.
I can see that. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the parallel I'm drawing with that, is that they're doing the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. I don't agree with it because I think they were on the right track, making something they believe in, making something they actually care about. Biohazard and Village are sequels, are connected to each other.
Whoa.
What?
I have something else to draw to.
Okay, go for it.
I was trying to think of any other time Capcom might have done this, and they totally did. This has happened once before. Devil May Cry 4 did not do very well. What came out right after that?
I don't remember.
The HD collection of 1, 2, and 3.
Oh.
Do you remember that? They came out back to back pretty much.
Yeah, on PS3 after original 4 came out.
Well, I played it on 360, but
yeah.
4 came out. People hated it. Gave it like maybe a year. That collection came out 1, 2, and 3 in HD. So that also ties into what you said before when you said bringing everything up to a standard.
Mm-hmm.
They brought it all up to 360 or PS3 level. That's interesting. I think it's the same play.
I would agree with that.
I think that's supporting evidence for your argument, if nothing else. Like,
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you can literally connect to that as well. And it's like, it's tough, man, because like one thing we talk about a lot is like wanting to see companies take a chance, do their own thing, make their games, make the story they want to tell. Don't make the game everyone wants you to make necessarily. Like, keep doing it. Because we already know now, the community at this point would be happy playing the same thing every goddamn year if that's what it takes. The people who buy Skyrim every year are prime examples of that. They will play the same thing over and over again because that's just what they want for whatever reason. But I just don't think they should give up. I don't think this should be their main project. They shouldn't be like putting all their eggs in this basket of like, look at this game everyone likes, but it's prettier.
Yeah, well, I would say to those developers, take yourself back before this game hit. Like, you believed in that project, and it shows. People bought it because there's heart in it. Do that some more. I mean, it's also kind of true, like, I hate to, bring analogy into this, but, like, lightning striking the same place twice. Like,
it's hard, yeah. I know we've talked about this too, like, it's very rare that like a sequel is as good as the first game, especially when that continues to like 3 and 4 or 5. With however many sequels there are, it's very, very rare. And that's true with everything, TV shows, movies. Like, it is very, very rare that happens. I think honestly with Naughty Dog's thing is that like I feel like they got confused halfway through. Honestly, because like I said, I think the Last of Us Part 2, like the first half of the game, is very good. It's very well done, and like I was more so pissed off at that game because I was like, it was going so well. Why would you do this?
Yeah. Like,
why would you do this? But I feel like it was really just like they didn't know what to do after that. It was just a filler story, basically. And I mean, that might have been due to the deadlines. They were kind of pressured to come up with a bullshit story to finish the game. And that could have been an instance where it's like, you should have just waited. Maybe people wait another year. Maybe the game could have been better. I don't know, or maybe they really believe in the story. I can go into a whole deep analysis of like why the first game is good and why what they did with the second game is a fucked up, stupid thing to do. But it's not what this episode's about. But I bottom line, I just think they're licking their wounds right now. I think they're just trying to sell something they know will sell because putting your heart in your sleeve didn't work out so well.
Which I'm sorry.
Yeah, genuinely, I am.
Oh, I would love. Two-edged sword here, but I love to know what the new hot thing is. Like, because for me at least, like, again, I still haven't played it. Sorry, Brendan. I didn't play The Last of Us. but it came out of nowhere, and people just loved it. Like, I hadn't heard of Naughty Dog since, I mean, didn't they do like Jack and Daxter and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of them since then.
Yeah.
And then they come out with this alleged masterpiece, and I only say that because, again, I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I want to know what's the next thing.
Yeah.
Stop giving me the same thing. Show me something new.
Yeah, I mean, it when we were younger, obviously, it was always that concept of like, what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely would not imagine gaming would be where it's at now when I was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would not think that. Even when I was like 15, 16, I would not be like, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of remakes. Like,
oh, yeah.
Another 10 years, basically.
I mean, movies really prove the concept.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's been going on for forever. Like, I'm finding out now that there's movies that I enjoy that I think I've seen the original, but come to find out, no, I haven't. The original is like a 50s movie. And I go back and watch it, and I'm like, I can see why this was redone in the 80s. Like,
I mean, some things can be done really well. I'm not saying that remaking things is not entirely unwarranted.
no, totally not.
It can be done well, and in some instances, it's okay.
Totally.
One of my favorite games of all time as a remake on PSP, I think it's better. It is the definitive version for me. I would recommend that one over the PS1 version. Not the PS1 version's bad. I think the PSP one's better. It just is. Even talking about movies, like I never watched the old A-Team, but I really like the movie A-Team.
Yeah.
Like, the movie's awesome.
Yeah, it's true to its material too, which is what I really like about it. Maybe not like canon true to its material, but like it's supposed to be over the top.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. A great example of that would be Dune.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the original Dune when I was a kid, and I loved it. Fell in love with the story. Then I read the book, and then I saw the Dune miniseries, which, boo, miniseries. It was really bad, I thought. That camp is really divided because the movie's not canon perfect. Anyway, that's a whole can of spice worms I don't want to open. And then I was really stoked when the new one came out, and I loved it. Like, that was a warranted remake, because that's the difference between 1986 and 2022. That was enough time.
There's something to be said with a medium where it's like, how do you top this, basically?
Yeah.
And it's like, in the 90s, for example, you watch a movie, it's like, they can't top this. But then, like, yeah, they can top it now.
Yeah, exactly.
In some mediums, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
In other mediums, it doesn't need to be topped. Just leave it the fuck alone.
It's like James Cameron. Great example of this. He had the script for Avatar done when he was filming Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
But he waited. He wanted the technology to be there to showcase this badass world he'd come up with. And he waited. And then I think 2010 is when Avatar came out. And I saw that movie 11 times in theaters. Like,
holy shit. I watched it once, but damn.
I love that movie.
That's really good.
It's a great story, man. I mean, it's Space Pocahontas. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But
yeah,
damn, is it good.
No, it is very good. I bought it. I mean, I'm not really a movie buff, so it's like a compliment for me. Not that I'm some fucking amazing person. I'm just saying, like, it's basically a compliment from me when, like, I want to buy something. And I'm like, I would like to own this. This is very good.
I have yet to meet anybody that didn't enjoy themselves watching that movie. I mean, I suffered through 3D for that movie. Like, I sat there and took my headache. Like,
yeah.
It's
not even real. I fucking hate 3D.
I mean, it's pleasing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the trope that came after that, which everything had a 3D version.
I mean, the only time I watched it in theaters was in 3D, and like the bushes were like slightly more pronounced.
Yeah.
But that was it, and I just took my glasses off after like halfway through the movie. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna take my headache for Alice in Wonderland. That was a mistake. But yeah, no, dude, the movie is amazing. I loved that movie, and the sequel's coming out here pretty soon. Which, ballsy move to wait that long, but he announced it as a trilogy when it came out. So
yeah, I wonder if he's waiting for graphics to slowly again catch up to what he wants to do with it.
Boy, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen it recently or watched it recently.
No.
I would say even now, tough to top.
Yeah, there are some things like that. I mean, with video games as well, there are things that were definitely ahead of its time. Like, I don't know if you ever played Shadow of the Colossus, but that game came out on PS2 originally, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
For that era. It stood above everything in the PS2 era.
Yep.
And, you know, that's a game that, like, I have really weird mixed feelings about, because I don't know if that company even does anymore, but like they do release remasters of that game like almost not every year, but like it was a PS3 version, then the PS4 version, like
yeah.
And like I'm not mad about it, but I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, man?
I heard, and again, not from a super reliable source, but I heard that there was supposed to be a sequel, and then that got scrapped and then turned into something else.
Yeah. And this could be totally wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about this. From what I know of the canon of that game, so Shadow of Colossus was originally planned to be the sequel. And then that got basically just turned into Shadow of Colossus, and then there's a game called Ico that came out after it, and that serves as a prequel, but it's also its own thing, basically. But that's what that original story for Shadow of Colossus got turned into, was Ico.
Really?
Yeah, and then they have a game called Last Guardian, which...
Is that like the little boy and the dragon thing? Or the little girl and the dragon thing? I'm not even sure. I just saw some art for it.
Yeah, and I think that... I don't know where that fits in the timeline, but I know it's in the timeline somewhere.
Is it a good game?
Shadow of the Colossus, yes. Ico I have not played, and The Last Guardian I got from my fiance because she really likes puzzle games, and I'm not super into puzzle games. That's the whole game. It's just puzzle stuff. It's just figuring out how to proceed. So I'd say if you like puzzle games, yeah, probably.
Okay, cool.
But it just depends what you're into. It's certainly weird. Like, that's a weird game.
That whole universe is strange.
Yeah.
But not bad strange.
Yeah. I feel like with I don't even know, like with the Shadow of the Colossus remakes, I wonder if it's just like finally catching up to what they were trying to do back then, you know? Because I mean, it was impressive back then. I remember playing that game and like being floored by it and just like, no fucking way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting concept. I should go back and watch videos of it, or just buy it on PS2 and play it again and see if it still holds up.
If you do that, I will bring over what I'm led to believe is the first... I know for a fact it's the first Square Enix title for PS2, but I think it might also... I was told it's also the first PS2 title released. It's called The Bouncer.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Nah, I acquired that game in a very roundabout way, but I'll bring it over.
Okay.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. It's a thing. The person who got it for me, in case if they're listening to this, like, that's all I'll say. I don't want to hurt their feelings, but it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah. It's literally her favorite game of all time.
Oh, okay.
And that's why she got it for me. And it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad. It's very... It would fit in very well with now gaming.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something I've played like it recently. Basically, it's like massive cinematics, tiny bits of gameplay. Massive cinematic, tiny bits of gameplay. It would have served better as a movie, but...
Yeah, that's how I feel about the other Naughty Dog game that everyone likes is Uncharted. That was like their really big thing after The Last of Us, is they put a lot of effort into Uncharted. Which, I mean, I think they're a fine movie, but as a game, not so much. Honestly, I don't have fun playing them, but...
I heard the actual movie sucked donkey, but...
It's just confusing as to like what timeline we're supposed to be experiencing. Because it seems like it's the first game, but it's also not the first game, but it's also like a little bit of the third game in it. So it's like, I just don't know what timeline we're supposed to be experiencing. Maybe if you're like a massive Uncharted nerd, you can tell me in the comments, like, explain the timeline to me and why that movie is actually not confusing.
Yeah, and if you break out Red String, you lost me.
Yeah. Sometimes that can be good.
Yeah. So speaking of things coming to movie or miniseries or show, how do you feel about the D&D series that's coming out?
You know, that's confusing because I watched the trailer for it and I was like, I don't know if you can do that in D&D necessarily. Like there were some things I was like, I don't know if you can do that or not. But I was like, but I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, you can't do that in D&D, so it's a terrible fucking movie. I'm just like not sure what angle they're going with or what direction they're going with. Yeah. Because with representation of anything, what I care most about, whether it be a video game, a movie, TV show, whatever, is like I want the person making it to care about the material.
Totally.
You know, I hope the people playing or making this movie or have made this movie, whatever, are big D&D nerds and like play D&D and stuff like that. Like I hope they are connected to the material in some way.
Okay.
And from the trailer, I don't get that vibe, but you know, I could be wrong. It was just a trailer. I do know that. A little bit of a deep dive with it. I looked up some stuff about it just to like figure it out, and I know they did work very closely with Wizards of the Coast making the script. Okay. So I know, and there's even a there's real life Forgotten Realms like locations in it that like are based in the world of Forgotten Realms. So that's what it's based in. There's even a so one of the places that I guess you'll go to in the movie. Came out of a module that was released a little while ago, and they specifically made that module in that place for the movie. Apparently, like that's how close they've been working together to like get the script.
That's important.
Yeah, it's very important. So I have okay feelings about that. Honestly, so the one that came out like 30 years ago, or whatever.
Yeah.
I actually really liked that movie. And the thing is, I've rewatched that movie, and while I can be like, yeah, the 3D did not age well. I don't think that movie's bad. I still like it. I would still defend it, I think.
Blue Lips.
Yeah.
That's what I remember most from that movie. I want it to be a success.
I do too, yeah.
Because I want it to be a launch pad for a goddamn Drizzt movie. That's all I care about.
I don't know if Salvatore will do it. I've actually watched interviews where he's talked about that and been like, I don't know.
Well, he's a giant baby. He doesn't believe in his own work anymore.
Honestly, I don't. His reason for it is something I actually hold very close to me because I saw this interview like a while ago, and then he brought it up in that interview, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally feel that. But people have asked him a lot about that, like a Drizzt series, and he's like, you know, my concern with that is like the same thing with Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings. Like, you know, how do you feel that when people think of Lord of the Rings now, it's going to be your movies, not the books? And that strikes a chord with me personally. I think we should protect literature still.
No, I disagree.
I mean, that's okay.
I think film is still a great medium. I've still not recovered from what they did to my favorite book series. So,
which one's that?
Dark Tower.
Oh yeah.
That movie hurt me in places. It hurt me in places I'd care never to go to again. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I was not on board with, and they didn't care. It feels to me like you were talking about like connection to the work. I didn't feel it. I feel the only person that actually read Dark Tower was Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
That's the only, like, and I mean, of course, why wouldn't he? Not saying Idris Elba isn't a great actor, but I think he was the wrong choice for Roland. Like, I don't feel like he's stoic enough for that role. Like,
yeah.
That takes a very, like, Roland's a hard character to nail down. Like, I think it's just miscast.
I feel like that's a lot of it. I kind of feel that way about the dude. I cannot remember his name ever, but the person who's like the leading man in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. He was like Captain Kirk in one movie, and then in Star Trek, not in one movie, Star Trek, but in like the new Star Treks.
Oh yeah.
I cannot remember his name.
Is it Chris Pine?
I believe it's Chris Pine. Yeah. I kind of feel that way about him. But,
is he the lead in the?
Yeah, basically. Like, he seems to be the one that revolves around. But he apparently is a bard, maybe, so maybe it works. It's actually a really good segue, though, into another thing with graphics in general is, like, you know, talking about literature being turned into movies and stuff like that. like I fully admit there's something I've noticed. I've actually got really into retro gaming lately.
Cool.
I even bought the equipment needed to like make it easier to play on HD TVs.
Oh, you got that, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So I've spent like a total of like $100 or so on like the correct connections to like make it work on my HD TV.
So I'm bringing champions over
Yeah.
when?
I mean, I have them already, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, totally.
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, man. And even I can admit that it's like when I was younger, this looked better.
Hmm?
Absolutely, it looked better.
You had no basic comparison.
Yeah, and I think that does come from that being like now I've seen better, so I can look at this and be like, oh, it's not as good as I remember it being.
Totally.
But I'm wondering if like that's has something to do with all these remasters. Is like, are people at this point now where like they've lost appreciation for their older stuff? Because like even though I can look at it and be like, this is not as what I used to or what I remembered, it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
This still looks fine. This is still okay. Like I still enjoy this. I wonder if like it's just a natural evolution of getting older and stuff. Like, do you think we've gotten to that point where like people can't do this anymore? Looking at something that's not the best thing they've ever seen is like difficult for them.
I don't know. And I'm okay with saying that. I don't know. It feels right, but I guess it boils down to how much do you love the craft?
Yeah.
How much do you love this really? Do you love it enough to look past it not being graphically perfect and appreciate it for the art form it is? Or damn, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a question I've really been thinking about just building up to this recording, because I was just like, it was kind of like a realization for me too, like when I finally got all the equipment hooked up correctly to like make it smooth out the lines enough for me to actually play it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, like I wonder why this doesn't look right to me. And then I was like, oh, that's why I played this like 15, 20 years ago.
Objectively, that's what I'm struggling with, because I know that's not the case for me, but I don't know if that's the case for everyone. Like, and it's hard to even say the love for the craft thing. That's even hard to say, because like I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody they don't love something as much as I do because there's a shortcoming I can overlook it that they can't.
Yeah.
Or a limitation, let's call it, maybe not a shortcoming. So I don't know. Like, you're probably right.
I hope I'm not right.
Damn, dude, I don't know. That's sticky. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what that would mean if like that's where we're at as a society is that like there are people who look at The Last of Us on PS4 and they're like, this game's ugly.
Yeah, which is not true.
It's not true at all. And that's kind of been my, my struggle with all of this is like just reading all these horrible comments about The Last of Us specifically. People aren't talking about Resident Evil as much, but people are talking about Last of Us like crazy.
Really?
There's a huge divide on it. People who are like, I do not fucking care. And people that are like, no, it's going to be the best game ever. Oh. It's like, it's going to be the same game ever.
Yeah, I for that instance, I would say for like The Last of Us remake, the game has already proved itself. It doesn't have anything left to prove. Yeah. Like, I've looked at the ratings that it received from critics. It missed 1 point, and that was for lack of color. And I don't think a remaster is going to fix something that 9 out of 10 is nothing to sneeze at. Like, it ain't perfect.
No, and the thing with that as well is I've looked at so like I said, there's a bunch of leaks, and I've looked at the side-by-side images of like, this is what it looks like on PS4, here's what the PS5 version looks like. I think that lack of color thing is like a horrible like misunderstanding, because that game is dark and gritty and grungy, and it works really well.
It's the setting.
Yeah, that's the setting, exactly. But you have these pictures of the side-by-side images now, like the PS5 versions or like the updated whatever remaster versions. They're so bright and colorful, and it's just like, this doesn't look depressing to me. Honestly, it doesn't. Like, this doesn't make me feel depressed when I look at it.
It's supposed to be a happy game, or not be a happy game.
No, that world is horribly sad, and the people in it are horrible people, and that's the point. And so just looking at it, it's just like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't. You're deviating from the premise that worked. So why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, remakes and remasters and updated graphics, I think, like we've talked about, should be primarily accessibility, make it playable for everyone, and B, like, some things could use a graphic overhaul. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
the difference between the Grandia 2 I grew up playing and the remaster are like literal night and day, as they should be, because that's a game that came out in the early 2000s, and then it got its remaster like what, 3 years ago?
I have no idea. I'm not up to date with my Grandia news, to be honest.
I think so. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago it got the update.
Yeah,
And
it's honestly not a series I've followed a lot. It's something that I've played over the years, small bursts, but I've never committed to playing it.
oh, it's just delightful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having played now more than like 5 hours of the first game. I'm like, oh, this game is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just it was just a smooth out, and that's all it needed. They didn't rebuild the models from the ground up or anything like that. It was just a smooth out.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's what that culture is for, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of like remake and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't see the point in remaking a damn game that's already had a remake. Like,
Yeah.
so in that instance, I would say the graphics are, for that cause, not important.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, and why I'm annoyed about it is like this. I will maybe budge a little bit and be like, fine, remaster Resident Evil 4, fine. But this is just a pointless remake. That's what it comes down to. It's pointless. It is pointless.
Why are you allocating man hours to this?
Yeah. You could. I just gave you an example earlier in the episode of something you could have made that would have been really good, and I would have bought. But
yeah, it sounds like you're gonna miss this one.
yeah, no, I do not fucking care at all.
Same.
Yeah. It reminds me of you know, like that scene in The Office where it's like corporate wants you to find the differences between these two pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same picture.
Yeah.
That's what I think about every single time with that game. It's just, yep, cool, more of the same.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a guaranteed influx of cash, not a cash grab, an influx. People are gonna care about this, and also, I don't know, like, break out my tinfoil hat here for a second. It almost seems like the divide is on purpose, because guess what? Like, people are talking about it. Like no publicity is bad publicity. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, they're not happy about the leaks, but
people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's stupid, but you're talking about it. Like,
mm-hmm.
Screw that, man.
Yeah. This is it's a really hot take. I guess before I end it, is there anything you want to talk about beyond this, or?
Yeah, I think I'm good on that.
Yeah. So I just want to end things with a very hot take. I hope more than anything, with tons of sincerity, that the RE4 remaster and Last of Us 4 remaster fail horribly.
Same.
I hope they don't sell well. I hope they make just enough money to start making a new game. But I hope they don't sell enough that they start to realize maybe I should start making original products still. If my current product, like, you know, if you don't like Resident Evil Village, fine. I liked it. I enjoyed it. You know, it was fine. I like Biohazard too. It was fine. You know, if that's not working, you should go in a different direction.
Totally.
Don't just remake the same thing. And the thing with Resident Evil even 2, like, I'm so annoyed with them for making this remaster because the way Village ends, it's like, you know, basically the main character at the end of the game has superpowers, basically.
Okay.
That's what it is. You could have made a sequel with that character, and it could have been very, like, Parasite Eve style, where it's like, it's still a shooter game, you're still running around shooting stuff, collecting things, whatever, but you also have superpowers. You can do cool psionic attacks or something like that. Like, you could have done that with it. That's a good direction to take the series. But...
Nope.
Yeah, so I hope this isn't the end of it. I hope that these really are just money-making schemes. You just kind of get some money to maybe make the next project, and they keep going. But I hope they're not successful enough that they're like, we should just keep doing this forever.
Yeah, I honestly... Yeah, no. I'm done with... You got my money once. Is that okay? Can that be enough? No, you want my money 5 times.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that anymore, man. I'm not paying for the same product. Unless, again, it's something like... why Resident Evil 4? I understand. It was a great Resident Evil game. Why not remake 0? I love that game. And
I thought it did get a remake or something.
it might be in like one of the like collections that came out, but I would love to see that game specifically get some care and get rebuilt and sent back through, because 0 was fun, man. It was my introduction to Resident Evil, and I loved it, and it was gory and great.
I didn't actually like Resident Evil until 4 came out. I had played the other ones, and I was like, no, because I hate tank controls. I fucking hate tank controls. But it wasn't until I did away with that and did 4, and my friend was just like, no, you really gotta play this. Like, I really like this game. You gotta play this. I was like, sure, I'll try it. Sure. Yeah, I really liked it. So
yeah, come to find out, it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying 4 isn't a great game. It really is. But I would like to see some of the older stuff get a little bit of love.
Yeah, or even better, go in a new direction.
Even better, yes.
Yeah. But I think that's everything from me. Everything.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I think I've shit on Naughty Dog enough for one day.
Yeah, that's what this episode really came down to, was just fuck Naughty Dog, unfortunately. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this, let us know. We want to hear from you. So if you're watching on YouTube, comment, tell us what you think. Are you excited for the Last of Us remake? Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why you agree with us. Tell us something we maybe missed. If you're on Spotify, you can follow us on Twitter. You can yell at me there. I engage with people who engage with me. The new graphic you're going to see in this episode is done by our friend Blake, friend of the show.
Yes.
His DeviantArt will be down below. It'll be the Guite-Immortal one. You can check him out. He does art occasionally. I'm not sure if commissions are open. It seems to be more so if he feels like he wants to. I'm not really sure.
He just loves us very much.
Yeah, so really appreciate that. So that's amazing art was done by him. Like I said, you can check that down below. Yeah, I think that's everything from us. So, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the revolution. You can add our voice to ours. We want to hear from you. And, never, ever stop looking for your own blue chicken.
Nope, ever.